This podcast is brought to you by RYYZN, Make Life Work Out, a health and self-development platform dedicated to helping busy, everyday Kiwis manage their physical health and upskill their mental well-being.
Through sharing relatable and practical content from health practitioners, as well as showcasing interesting stories from interesting people.
For more shows, content, events, and coaching, head to our website, www.ryz-workout.com. How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the High Frequency Club podcast. My name is Marwan Salario.
And I'm Sinead Behrman. We're here talking all things self-development, growth and mindset.
This is going to be our first episode of 2023, so we thought we'd kick it off with just us and just do a little bit of a reflection of 2022 and what to look forward to for this year. So I reckon let's just head straight into it.
Yeah, we're going to start off with sharing some of our biggest wins and biggest challenges of 2022.
Yeah.
Personally, professionally, and even maybe as a podcast.
Yeah, cool. For me professionally, and personally, because my career intertwines to my personal life, is that last year it's actually been the anniversary of going out on my own as a personal trainer. So I was at Les Mills for 6 years. And then I got a place out here in Remuera, and I am an independent personal trainer. So that for me, that was the biggest win, because the biggest insecurity that I had at the time was that no clients would follow me, and all my clients followed me. So what I was really proud of was that I realized that I was more a PT of value rather than just a PT of convenience. Mm-hmm. Because if I was just a personal trainer that was convenient to my clients, then by me leaving Britomart where they all worked, they would just go get another personal trainer. But instead, they followed me, they trusted me, and they changed their routines around their personal training sessions. So that gave me evidence to really back myself, to trust that the work that I'm doing is of value, that it's good, and to just really double down on the things that have been working for me, like my ability to communicate with people, my ability to connect with people, my ability to coach. I think the biggest challenge was to not rest on my laurels, because when you're in a commercial gym, you can see your other PTs out there, giving it their all. So that helps elevate your standards as well. And I didn't have that anymore. It's a benefit as well as a consequence of being in the garage by ourselves, is that it's personal. So it's super personal to the client. We can really focus on our relationship and the work that we're doing. But there's something to be said about seeing other PTs, other practitioners around you that help elevate your standards, There's this, in ways, it's competitive.
Yeah.
And also all because I live upstairs doesn't mean that now I just show up 30 minutes before my session, It was important that I carried on my morning routine, waking up 90 minutes before my client and still going through the whole meditation, journaling, getting my coffee and reflecting before my day, because it would have been easy to just drop my standards, because everything was so much more accessible. So that's the challenge, which I feel I've been living up to. Now it's just what's next for me as a personal trainer? What is that next level? For me, I think it's going to be in the online space.
Yeah. Did you find working from home sort of lived up to the expectations you had, or did you have any expectations of what it was going to be like working from home?
Did I have any expectations?
Or how you expected it was going to be? Like when you obviously left Les Mills and were like, yep, I'm going to do this from home. What was your hopes or your expectations of it?
My hopes that I would still be able to service the clients that I had, but more importantly, still pull in leads.
Yeah.
Because a large part of the leads that I was getting from Les Mills was off the gym floor. People would be, on the treadmill or whatever. They would observe me working with my clients, and that's how I would get my leads, as well as my sprint classes, which I still do. But I knew that I wasn't going to be on the gym floor anymore. So my expectation was, where else am I getting leads that I can really double down and reinvest in? And that was Instagram.
Yeah.
So my expectations was just, again, really double down on the things that were working, because I was eliminating certain avenues of lead generation.
And what's helped keep your standards high when, like you said, you're no longer in that environment where you've got fellow PTs around you, or you're not necessarily on show anymore? Like you said, you would have picked up leads through people observing you, which would have kept you on. What do you feel has helped you sort of maintain those standards, like you said, of being prepared, still having a uniform, and still, you know, giving a top tier experience for all your clients?
Good question. It's in my personality to always want to improve. It's in my personality to try push my own boundaries. I've received so many benefits from taking responsibility over my life that I've always wanted to keep that identity trait about me. And also having, you know, the goal and the vision of being one of the best personal trainers in the country, because I know I can do that. I mean, and I'm not just saying that because I think I'm arrogant. Like, I was nominated top 6 personal trainer by Exercise New Zealand, so that means I'm in top 6. So it's not just a made up thing that I'm just saying right now. So for me, if I know that when I got nominated for that and became a finalist, the work that I presented was the top tier that year. Now I'm trying to make that my minimum standard. So that's what's tangibly pushing me forward. So if that's what I can do to get into the top 6, what can I do more on top of that to get into like top 3?
And do you feel you've probably upped your Instagram game now, knowing that that's probably, like you said, that's probably where most of your leads are going to be coming through, is what people see online? Do you feel you've probably put a bit more effort and focus into that than you would have done when you were at Les Mills, or do you feel that that's sort of maintained and been the same?
No, I've definitely put more concentration, more strategy, more output to my Instagram game, because if people aren't seeing me on the gym floor now, then now they're seeing me on Instagram. So that has got to be just as busy. And social media is a numbers game. The more times you see me working, the more social proof I show you that I am good at my job, the closer you get to that conversion line, the closer you get to emailing me about a consultation. Yeah. How about you? What are your wins and challenges for the year?
I think the first half of 2022 was pretty challenging. I feel I had a lot of uncertainties in my life around the first 6 months of the year. The biggest one being I didn't know when I was going to get home to Perth to see my family, because it had been, I think, just over 3 years since I'd been home due to COVID and everything. And I was just studying at the time. I was studying my health and nutrition coaching, so I wasn't really working as much. So I was just feeling a bit lost in a lot of different aspects of life. In the end, I did get home, obviously, in June for a month for my sister's wedding, which was awesome. And then since then, I finished my health and nutrition coaching, started working with clients, and towards the end of last year as well, I started at Strong Pilates. And given that Strong Pilates is quite new here in New Zealand, there was a lot of opportunities for growth there quite quickly in different roles. And I took on the spot of head trainer, so in charge of the development and upskill of our team, which has been a very challenging and yet rewarding role so far. And it's just been getting used to that, I guess, from going from just studying and having my own schedule and being on my own time to now sort of being pretty full-time with Strong Pilates and just trying to manage my time so that I can still be doing a bit of health coaching, albeit not as much as I would have liked to be doing. But yeah, so that's probably my biggest challenge going forward now is my time management, is still being able to give enough to Strong and fulfill the duties of my role, but still have that day or two where I can be putting that into the podcast, editing content, as well as doing that for my health coaching as well.
What do those boundaries look like? Because it sounds like that you've got a lot of balls being juggled right now. Just trying to start up your health coaching business, taking up a new role at Strong Pilates, and not just an instructor, your people management. You're managing a team and the development of that team. On top of obviously being the producer of the High Frequency Club. Like, what boundaries are you setting for yourself? I'm
trying to be pretty clear on these are the days that I'm working at Strong, and then these are the days that I need to be doing my own thing with the podcast and health coaching. So it's trying to be clear on those days, and then really allocating my time on those days that I have to work on the podcast and my health coaching, and as to what I'm going to be getting done in those days. I think if I was just working full-time with my health coaching, they're probably tasks that I would be able to get done in a week or two, but knowing that I'm only going to have maybe a day or half a day a week to focus on that, they are tasks that will take me a little bit longer, but it's being clear on all those tasks I need to get done, and allocating the time accordingly to them. And as well, not I think previously I've had a history of having an extremely long to-do list and being like, yep, I'm going to smash out all these things today, and then I get halfway through the day and think, shit, I've only got through 3 of my 12 things. So being a bit more realistic as well with my time management. Yeah, which I guess for some people that might be in that similar situation where they do have some sort of side hustle or part-time job on the side to their main job, it can be hard to find that balance. Definitely if you've got pretty set hours with your job, like if you work in corporate or something and you have to be there Monday to Friday, 8 till 4 or 9 to 5, it can be hard to dedicate that time. But I think it's looking at your week overview and being like, where can I get that time in? What afternoon or evening am I going to have the most time to put in towards that? And then being clear on what it is you're going to work on in that time. Because I think so often otherwise you get to that free evening and you sort of just kick back, relax, and then think, oh shit, actually I was going to research that tonight or write out this, and then you forget. So yeah,
because I found that especially early on when I was creating content, it was so easy to go from like 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. with clients, and then by that point I'm just so physically, mentally and emotionally like I'm taxed, I'm done, I'm fucked. But I knew that I needed to create content, otherwise my business would never grow, my brand would never grow. So for me, how I started was just like, do your 6 to 3 clients and then really just focus on like 60 to 90 minutes on creating 1 piece or 2 pieces of content.
So the bar low but achievable.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be fucking work till fucking midnight like these hustling motivational
like you said, it could just be one thing, and it's being realistic with that time, knowing that, like you said, after a 6 to 3 day you're going to be pooped, you're going to be pretty taxed, and therefore not giving yourself like, oh, I need to get these 5 things done tonight. It's just been like, okay, cool, 1 piece of content, and that's all my focus is going to be this evening, because 1 piece of content each day is going to be better than, oh, it gets to a whole week and you've done nothing, and then having to try and cram heaps of work in on a weekend or something like that.
I think the biggest thing that COVID 2020 taught me was that there was a difference between being busy and being productive. And the busy tasks are the things that maintain your current lifestyle and your business. The productive tasks are what move it forward. And for a long time in my PT career, I was so busy being busy, but not being productive. And when I got that time and space during lockdown, I figured that out, and I was like, yo, I need to be growing by creating that content. And obviously at the time there was fucking nothing to do during lockdown, so I was able to create so much content, create a big bang. But then when we were back into the gym, it was just about creating that 1 piece of content per day, and then also putting myself in a state where I had the energy to be able to do that, to do a long day of clients and still have a little bit of energy to create that content, to still have that creativity, and having those non-negotiables in my routine, like movement, healthy foods, getting enough sleep, because the blocker to creativity is stress. And if you're stressed out, it's very difficult to be creative.
What do you find works for your inspiration or ideas for your content? Obviously with High Frequency Club, most of our content comes from the podcast. So obviously once we've edited the podcast, we're just cutting short clips from the podcast episode and sharing them, as well as quotes that have been shared in the podcast. So for me, that makes it quite easy in some regard. I'm not having to think of, oh my God, what am I going to post tonight? I can kind of just take it from the podcast. It's a matter of just editing it, having it all ready for the week so that there's something there to post. But for yourself, what do you find helps with, because you could each night be like, shit, what am I going to post about? What should I share? What should I talk about? Where do you kind of find those ideas come from?
I always have this conversation that like, is being creative something that you control? Is it like a button that you push? And I don't know, but I'm leaning towards that it's not. Like it's a state that you've got to be in, and you can't rely on waiting to be creative to create content. Otherwise it will never come and you will never create anything. So for me, I just focus on documentation over creation. So what that means is that like, if I've got a list of 8 clients today, those are 8 sessions that I can document. I can document us working out, I can document the conversations that we've had, and then I'll turn that into content. I'll use a quote that maybe there was a breakthrough that we had in that session, use a quote from that. I will also video maybe them doing their top set. Now I can make a reel out of that personal best. If we had a great conversation, which can also lead into a video that I can make to help elaborate that theme, that's another piece of content that I can make. So I'm not creating anything. The only creation really is the production of the content. But
you're not trying to think of brand new ideas.
No, I'm not trying to think of brand new ideas.
Yeah.
That already happened. What I'm doing is, literally documenting what just happened and turning it into micro content.
Yeah.
And it's like the same with like these podcast episodes. Like will film for like an hour, and if we really wanted to, we could get at least 25 pieces of content in the form of written, the quotes, reels, smaller little segments of it. Obviously, we've got the full podcast. And more and more. And if we wanted to and push, we could create blogs. You know, it's so easy.
Yeah, definitely. I think people, that's probably where they struggle. If they are in that self-promotion game or they're self-employed and trying to push their business online, it is, I think, can take up a lot of time thinking of like, oh my gosh, what am I going to post about, versus like you said, just documenting or making a post about a conversation you already may have had that day with the client, or something that you're seeing shared regularly online. Like if you're someone that's got like a nutrition page and you're seeing, you know, all these different nutrition pages all posting about, you know, saturated fat or something, that might give you an idea to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to do a post on that, or whatever it might be.
Yeah, and you don't always have to be creating brand new content. Like in time, as you get into your content creation, you put so much content in the bank. That means you can reuse that content. You can repurpose that content, give it a different title. I hardly create new content. I maybe do it once every 2 weeks now, and I just reuse, repurpose, recycle old ones.
Yeah.
And it hits different. You know, you read a quote one day and it might hit this way, and then you read it maybe 2 months, 3 months down the line and it hits a different way because you've got a different set of experiences, you know, and you've got to give that to your audience as well. I think another reason on why people struggle to create content is tall poppy syndrome. So like they are afraid to show off their work. They are afraid of what people might think, when really, when you are documenting your work and putting it onto a platform, you're just sharing facts. You know, and this is what, especially when it comes to like testimonials, that's like what people say about you. It's not what you are saying about you, you know? And if you're in the business of wanting to grow your brand, it is impossible to do that if people don't know you exist. And it's impossible.
Or don't know that you're great at what you do.
Yeah.
Because it's all good for you to say like, oh yeah, this is what I do and I'm awesome at it. But like you said, the testimonials, or the reviews, that's proof of that people are getting value from your service. So you do need to share that to show like, it's not just me saying I'm awesome, like all the people that work with me are saying I'm awesome, and that proof, definitely.
Yeah, and it's actually less about you. It's more about the people that you want to help. So take yourself out of the equation. So it's not you trying to show off. It's you letting people know out there,
this is what I do.
This is what I do. I can help you. I can make an impact. I'm an option for you to invest your money in. You know?
Yeah, definitely. What have been, I don't know if you've had these conversations with your clients, but have many of your clients shared any sort of reflections or learnings from 2022, and how is that shaping 2023, or yourself personally as well? Any sort of big reflections or learnings for 2022 that you're going to take with you into 2023?
The common theme is just the reiteration of how much your mental and emotional state influences your ability to participate in exercise and intensify it, you know? Because like, let's use this for example. Let's say you're having a really hard time with a friend, right? And with a flatmate, arguing at home. You come to a deadlift set, you come to a PT session, you do deadlift for 5 sets and you feel great. Let's say that's all we do. You've still got to go to your flat and face that problem, you know? So I think the value of being able to coach, communicate people through their problems outside of the training room is so important, because it's all good and dandy that you come and work out and you feel good after the workout. But if we don't talk about what's going on for you outside of it, then we've only tackled one small part of the problem. You know, you're still going to have to go to your flatmate with that problem. You're still going to be unhappy in a sense. And if we're trying to create sustainable, long-lasting change, it's important as a personal trainer, I believe, that we help you solve your problems now and give you the tools to manage them in the future. And that's where the mental fitness comes into play.
Yeah, and just in regards to, obviously you're not the one with the answers, just as in coaching them through, talking through those issues as to how they're going to address them. Is that what you mean by that?
Yeah, well, there's a difference between a trainer and a coach, and a personal trainer can switch between both hats. Obviously, if you're coming to me wanting to learn how to deadlift, I'm going to have my trainer hat on because I'm going to teach you a set of skills that you don't know about. Coaching, on the other hand, is asking you questions to bring the answer out of you.
Yeah.
When it comes to training, I'm not going to be like, you're not going to be like, how do I do a deadlift? And I'm like, how do you feel you're going to do a deadlift? No, I need to be a trainer and give you that skill. You're just not going to.
But if I'm talking about like, these are my flatmate dramas, blah, 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 you're not necessarily like, oh, well, if I was you, I would do this and I would say that, da, da, da. You're saying, you know, oh, okay, what's going on? How does that make you feel? What do you think you're...
what is your goal? What is your goal with this? What do you want to get out of it? If you had 100% your way, what would the outcome be? What are your options in getting that outcome?
What are you willing to compromise?
What option are you going to take over the next week that I'll hold you accountable to?
Helping them be clear.
I am the expert in exercise prescription, but everything else outside of that still encompasses health and well-being, you are the expert in. You have the answers to your own problems, you know? But if I was to tell you, Shanae, you should do this, Shanae, you should do that, like, that's not going to be as impactful for you as you coming up with the answer. You know? It's much more empowering if you come up with the answer because it resonates with you.
100%. That's what I was going to say for my biggest learning with myself and with my clients over this past year was realizing that you generally always have all the answers. I think often when people come, they seek out an expert in something, or when they've come to me for health coaching, they're expecting me to give them all the answers and tell them like, yes, you need to be doing this, you need to be doing this form of training, you need to be eating this. And yet when I'm just asking the questions to get those answers out of them, they commonly they finish the session with being like, oh shit, I realized like I had all the answers. I just needed to talk it out and connect those dots myself. And I'm like, I'm almost a soundboard for you. I'm just asking those questions to bring those answers out. So it's very, like you said, very empowering for the person to realize like, oh, I had the answers and I've agreed to what I'm going to do going forward. And
I think that's the role of a personal trainer and a coach, is to help bring out your highest potential out of you. I'm not here to give you your potential, you're there to realize it. And it's a skill to be able to coach. You've got to know how to ask the right questions and put yourself in the equation and when to take yourself out. You know?
And like you said, sort of helping them keep accountable once they have thought, okay, this is how I'm going to tackle this. You know, checking if what barriers might come up for you, what might make that tricky for you to do that, and from there then keeping them accountable to be doing what they've just said that they're going to try and do.
I think this is going to be the new age of personal trainers, that you're not just a client is not just going to come for exercise. You know, that's just one part. I think there's going to be a demand that personal trainers also know how to effectively coach, effectively. Because it's one thing to say, oh yeah, if you come and personal train with me, not only will you get physically stronger, you'll get mentally fitter. But how? You can't just hope that will happen.
But that is a skill that, correct me if I'm wrong, but you don't learn that when you do a PT certificate.
No, you don't learn that in PT certificate, no.
So you say that might be the future of PTing, maybe, but not for all PTs. I think there'll be a lot of traditional PTs that go through, get their PT cert, and are just still prescribing exercises, writing a program, cool, see you next week, 4 lots of 10 squats, do this, do that. So, but I get what you mean in that it'll separate those from those sort of more basic level PTs to those PTs that are looking at you holistically and helping you with all those other aspects of your lifestyle, not just the physical side.
Yeah, and I know a lot of PTs who are really, really good at it already. All we need is just to be really loud about it. Is to educate the consumer, hey, this is what the standards of personal training are.
This is what you should be looking for.
You should be looking for. Because right now, if you're looking for a PT, you don't know what you're looking for. You know, you just hope that this is the right one. And you don't really know what's a good PT and a bad PT until you start shopping. But that can be a fucking expensive process. But if we create content, if we create education around what you should be looking for as a personal trainer, it will elevate that. It will elevate that standard. You know, consumer will have a better idea on a measure of success for a PT. Because I think it's a wild, wild west right now. You don't know. You don't know. Most of the time, people just think, oh, good looking body. I'll do that.
Yeah.
They must be good.
He's fit, and he's expensive. He's $90 a session, so he must be good. When they realise they're paying $90 for exercise prescription that they could be getting from a junior PT who's only charging $50 for that same thing.
Yeah.
So
I think as more PTs create more content and around their processes as a personal trainer, especially the really good ones, it will educate the market on how to tell what's a good PT.
and like you said, force everyone to sort of level up.
Yeah. And then the lower PTs, the ones that are just giving exercise prescription or whatever, they will fall to the wayside.
Yeah.
And that can only be a good thing, right?
Yeah.
Maybe those types of PTs also, it's time to move on. Maybe PTing isn't for you anyway. So it's not a bad thing that you run out of business.
Yeah.
You're probably one step closer to what you really want to do.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, definitely. One other thing that I'm focusing on for this year, which I feel I didn't focus on much last year, is having a bit of a monthly reset and reflection. I think I'm one that, like, every Sunday I sort of plan ahead for the next week, but I didn't last year take much of an opportunity to sort of pause and reflect on what I had been doing. And I feel doing that once a month is probably a good time to look back over the previous month and think, how did I go? How was last month? Was I feeling, burnt out, super busy, overly stressed, or low energy? And sort of looking back over my patterns of that month of like, well, how often was I training, and how often was I catching up with my friends or having some downtime? And actually I was on average working this much over the weeks and only training twice a week and things like that. As well as just even like spring cleaning. I found when we had our last rent inspection, there was a bit of a build up of dust here and there. So yeah, monthly sort of reset, refresh, spring clean, tidy my desk, and reflect on the month.
And if you do all of that, if you adhere to that 100%, what do you think is going to happen? Like, what's the outcome that you're looking for?
Just to feel more, like I feel towards the end of last year, particularly the last 6 months, it just felt like it flew by, that I was just and I always felt like I was on the back foot. Like I always felt like, oh fuck, it's October already, shit, I was still like in September. Like I just felt like I was always behind and didn't feel as prepared or ready for things. Whereas I feel if I'm sort of having that moment to just like pause, stop, okay, we've come to the end of Jan, reflect back on that month, what went well for that month, how did I feel in general over that month, how was my training, how was my eating, how was my socializing, all of that, and just then be able to be like, okay, well, going forward, okay, I didn't get enough training in last month I was only averaging 2 sessions a week and I was feeling quite low energy or feeling a bit meh. This time going forward this month, I'm going to try and get in at least 4 sessions a week. When am I going to get those? Planning those in, and just feeling more, I guess, to get the most out of each month versus just sort of running on autopilot and each month flowing into the next, and then it not being until either you get super burnt out or something happens that then, it's usually something big like feeling burnt out or getting really sick that you're like, oh fuck, that's when you sort of actually stop and look back. Whereas I think, sort of preventing that from happening.
And ideally, what tools will you use to help you, reflect? Is that something that you just sit down at the end of the month, give yourself 30 minutes, just think about it, or?
Yeah, I've just put in my diary, so I'm religious with my diary, and I've just put in like an asterisk at the end of every month to just give myself like, half an hour to just look back over my calendar, my diary for that past month and be like, yep, how was that month? And then also use that time to plan for the month ahead. And as well, that's helped with being able to schedule in holidays and just feel a bit more, again, have things to look forward to as well. Yeah.
Are you much of a journaler? Is that a word? Are you much of a journaler?
Journaler, yeah. Not as frequent. That's probably another thing that I feel I need to probably prioritise. I think for a while there, at least once a week was working for me. I know some people like yourself, it's a daily routine for you. So I'll try and get back into that once a week, because that's, again, another way of having something objective to go back to and read over and be like, oh, okay.
Yeah, well, I guess it's, obviously journaling isn't for everyone, and I get that. Everyone's got their own different processes. It's about just finding the process that best works for you, that creates the highest impact towards your goals. But I am such a fanatic for journaling. Like, I've got years and years of journaling. And the reason for that is because, like, I can look back over the past week, over the past month, over the past year, and I have concrete data on myself. So I know what I was doing when things were going great and what I was doing when things weren't going so great. And I can double down and reinvest on those really, really good things, you know? Because it's so easy to just go through the motions, you know? Well, like we are already at the end of January.
Yeah.
1 month has already gone by, you know?
It's
and how
crazy.
many things can you really remember about that?
Yeah.
You know? It's so
Well,
easy.
that's where, yeah, that's me. That's for me. My diary, like I write like everything to a T in my diary, so it's like it's got everything in there. So it's for me. That's looking back over my diary, I will be able to be like, oh yeah, that's right, I had that on that week. Yeah, that was a hectic week because I had this, and this. Or I'll be able to see from my diary as to how much I had written in and how busy or not so busy it was. So, yeah, for me, that's my objective measure, I guess.
Yeah, I think having a structure, having a diary, having a to-do list.
Yeah.
I think some people may think that it restricts your life, but I think having order in those basic things actually gives you so much more freedom.
100%. And as well, then you just, when people say that they don't do journaling or use a diary or use their calendar, I just think, how do you plan and prep for things? Because we all live such busy lives. It's like, how do you not then be able to catch up with your friends? Like for me and all my friends, we were all so busy for a while. It had been like almost 2 months before or 3 months before we'd actually had a catch up. And we were all like, shit, we need to organise a catch up. And then so from then, whenever we had a catch up, at the end of that dinner or lunch, whatever, got out our phones, cool, and when can we do next? And we'd all, you know, sometimes it would be another month in advance if we were all busy, but at least we were then locking that in. Otherwise, you go 3 months without catching up with your mates.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah.
So.
There's this quote by Dan Coe, and he says, one thing I've noticed about happy people is that they are obsessive about maintaining their mental clarity. And another quote by Matthew McConaughey is about journaling. I don't write things down to remember, I write things down to forget. So that means always trying to keep a low capacity in the brain. Always, so because everything's on the to-do list, on the journal, you don't have to hold on to thoughts.
Yeah, you're not holding on to it.
Yeah, you can just be in the present moment rather than living in your thoughts trying to remember shit.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I'm always quick to write. If someone tells you something, if someone's like, oh, this done or that done, it's like, boom, I write it down straight away. Otherwise, it's like you're trying to hold on to that thought whilst you're having a conversation with someone. You're still in your head being like, okay, I need to remember to add that in next Friday, 2 p.m, that I'm catching up with so-and-so, or I've got that appointment on. Whereas it's like, as soon as you write it down, boom, now I can let go of that and focus on the conversation at hand.
Yeah, I don't fucking understand how some PTs don't have tools in their sessions.
Yeah.
Like, if you're, like, I service 24, I think, or so clients. I don't remember what X did last week. Because between X and, I don't know, client A, I had already serviced like 17 people. So how the fuck do people remember what you're meant to be holding your client accountable to?
Yeah.
How do you remember the challenges that they were going through outside of the session?
Yeah, all the little things, like you said, yeah, going through issues at work or like going through issues at home.
I don't understand. I mean, some people must have just next level memory, or some people must be next level unprepared.
Yeah, I think it's the latter. Because I was the same with physio. I would write down everything to a T that someone would say in a session, to the point like they would come in next session and I'd be, oh my God, how'd your daughter's grand final soccer match go on the weekend? And like, oh my God, you remembered that? And I was like, well, yeah, I wrote it. Well, I didn't say that, but in my head I'm like, well, yeah, because I wrote it down. Like I wouldn't remember that otherwise. I wouldn't remember that your 5-year-old daughter Sally had whatever on the weekend if I hadn't add that in their notes.
And that's so powerful in helping build relationship.
100%.
Because that's what,
Yeah.
you know, a client to...
Because it shows you care. They're like, oh wow.
Yeah.
They care. They remembered all those little things versus just coming and being like, hi, and all you're remembering is like, oh yeah, we were, like for you it might be like, oh, I think we were working on their deadlift, you know. Whereas if you've got everything written down, you're just in a better headspace going into a session to give value, to give a great experience, to make people obviously feel valued, appreciated, and want to come back.
Yeah, and for the practitioner, you have the capacity to give value rather than trying to fucking dig into your memory files.
While they're talking.
Oh my God, what did we talk about last time?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
What was I meant to hold this person accountable to?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, definitely. What are you looking forward to for 2023?
I really want to get into the space of giving value to personal trainers. I think it's 7 years into my career now. I think I've got quite a bit of knowledge. I've got quite a bit of experience to be able to give back tools that will help new and upcoming personal trainers elevate their business at a much faster pace than I did. And it's just another aspect of my coaching. Yeah, and I want to do that through like online courses and events. So I'm just really scaling my business to create more of an impact, but also give myself a little bit more time. I want to travel the world. Obviously, we've got Australia this year as well as Bali, and yeah, man, I want to see America. That's our washing. I want to see the world.
Yeah.
I want to see the world.
Yeah.
And I want to still be serving people and getting paid while I'm traveling.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, keep your eyes and ears out. Watch what I do, not what I say.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm likewise. I'm looking forward to a bit more travel this year and just sort of seeing where the year goes, to be honest. I'm just looking forward to the growth of Strong in New Zealand, which will be awesome, and hopefully the growth of my health coaching, which I will get time put aside to that.
Well, now that you've said it out loud,
Yeah,
you know.
exactly.
Before we wrap up, the growth of the podcast and our reflection on the podcast. When I look back on our data, we have increased our community, we've increased listens and views and plays and downloads, and a huge testament to that is the quality guests that we've had on. We've been so fortunate that through my Lululemon ambassadorship, that it's opened doors and connections to people who are engaged in their communities and making an impact in their communities, and by having them on our show and being so generous with letting us know about the expertise and the experience and their lifestyles, it's also brought their people onto our platform, which what it's all about, right? It's like bringing people into this one little hub. And for us to continue to learn and grow from other people's experiences. I think for this year, it's just continue that snowballing effect, get more people, because the more people we get of value with bigger audiences, the more more leverage we have to get bigger people on, which are going to be great for everyone who's listening right now. You know, so if you could give us a hand, like our stuff, and please engage in our stuff. Share it with people who you think are going to value from this. Because the more you engage with us, the bigger guests we're able to get.
100%. The more eyes we get on the content, on listening in, tuning in, views on YouTube, etc. That all just helps get more eyes on it. The bigger, like you said, the bigger it gets, the more leverage you have to hit up big guests as well, and which are gonna again have more impact, more insight to share. But yes, last year definitely, like, I can't really pick a favorite guest. I think I loved all the conversations we had last year. Like, they were just so much value every person brought through their story, and hearing people's struggles and how they've sort of overcome what they've had to get to where they are is just inspiring.
For me, it's not that these guests were better, it's just I remember them so hard. They made such an impact on me because I got so emotional. Probably Adam Rigby and Regan Green, especially just at the end where they would give advice to themselves. That's the shit I live for, that type of connection, that type of wisdom, just being with another human to be able to just connect on that really deep level. I'll always remember that, and I'll cherish not just those moments, but all of our guests who have been so generous with their time.
Onwards and upwards for 2023.
And if you have any people that you think should come onto the podcast that you would love to hear their stories from, please let us know.
Definitely reach out, send us a DM, comment, let us know, and please make sure you're following along at the High Frequency Club on Instagram, YouTube, Apple, Spotify. Follow along wherever you're listening to us, and let us know your feedback. We love hearing from you guys and hearing your thoughts and what you are finding of value, what you'd want to hear or see more of as well.
All right, hope you enjoyed the show. Peace.